Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Best Today podcast. I am your host, Shunta Grant. And you know what? I have sat here and said that on this podcast 122 times. And in my prior podcast, the Business Life and Joy podcast, over 200 times. And so for almost 300, well, not almost, but for 322 episodes, I've sat here and introduced myself. And I realized that there may be some of you who don't know much about me and why I sit behind this microphone and come before you every single Monday and have for over, I don't know, is it 6 years now consecutively with no Mondays missed? And so I thought it would be fun to do an episode about the woman behind the microphone. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about myself. This episode is airing in July of 2023. We are in the midst of our social media reset, which is really exciting. And you can join us. It's not too late. You can go to besttoday.co/reset. And there we're just committing to log off of social media for the month of July and spend more time in our real lives, being more present, doing any and everything that is not social media. And then if you want some ideas on what that looks like, what you could do, you can flip back a few episodes and we have an episode called 33 Alternatives to Getting on Social Media. So that is there for you as a resource. But I say that it's July. This month, I'm also going to be intentional about creating shorter episodes. I know in the summer months, a lot of you are traveling, or doing things that may be outside of your normal remainder of the year routine because of the warm weather. It's a great time to take off, visit family. There's weddings, family reunions, all of those different things. So I'm going to try to keep each episode in the month of July shorter than usual. We're going to shoot for 10 to 12 minutes. You know, sometimes I can be gregarious. Is that the right word? It's the word that came out. Let's Google it. That's the one that came out. Gregarious. Did she pick the right word? A person fond of company, social. Nope, that's not the word I was looking for. At least that's not what's the word? Whatever the word is that means I can talk for a long period of time. That I can be. But here we go. I'm looking at the time right now. I'm already at 4 minutes. So let's get started. Hi. I'm Shunta Grant. Again, like I said, I've sat behind this microphone for so many episodes and wanted to say hello to those of you who may have been a part of my audience for years and years. First, I say thank you. Thank you, because so many of you tell me that you start every Monday morning with my voice in your ears, and I really, really appreciate that, right? This podcast only works if there's someone on the listening side, so I say thank you. And to those of you who may be new, or maybe someone sent you to this episode because they wanted you to learn a little bit more about me, I say hello to you as well. If we've met at an event, if you somehow stumbled on this podcast or my company, Best Today, something that I may have written that's out in the interwebs, or maybe you heard me on someone else's podcast, however our paths crossed, I want to say hello and just tell you a little bit more about me. This is going to be kind of not in any sequential order because I have a few notes, but then I'm also, because this episode is about me, I'm just going to talk for a little bit until this thing tells me Shunta stop, because you want to keep this episode shorter. So I'm Shunta. It's pronounced Shunta, even though when you look at the spelling of it, a lot of people think it's Shunta. It's Shunta. I'm a woman who really, really values peace of mind, joy, and intention. That ekes out of everything that I do in every aspect of who I am, right? And so the beautiful thing about me that I love is whether you meet me, you know, randomly in a shoe store, at a live event, anywhere, you're going to get the same Shunta. You're going to find intention, joy, and really me doing the things that matter to me. Because that's just who I am, not just who I present as for a podcast or a company. It's who I am. And I am so grateful to have the privilege of being able to take who I am and infuse that into a company, those values. My foundation is built on God's word and my belief in it. So another thing about me that if you want to know, okay, where is she getting these values? Where is she deriving her strength, her guidance, her wisdom, her understanding, her beliefs? That's where it's all going to come back to that. That's what I will be standing on, or always coming back to, even when I feel like I missed the mark, right? It's where my confidence is derived from. It's where my hope is found. It's where the source of my peace of mind, my joy, and that intention that I talk about that I value all comes from that. I am thoughtful. I am consistent, right? I often joke and say, if you look up consistency in the dictionary, my face will be there. I'm funny. I laugh at my own jokes quite often. I love shoes and I love wearing neutrals. My closet is primarily denim, black, white, cream, olive green, and gray. It's what I'm drawn to. Occasionally I'll see something with some bright colors and feel drawn to it. But usually, as I'm sitting here talking to you right now, I'm in a white shirt and denim and white Nikes. Which is pretty much my uniform. It's what I really love. I am my favorite person, and I hope that you are yours. Often when I say that, people give me the cringe face. And, I can understand why. We live in a world, particularly if you are a woman, where that's something that if you said it, someone would think that you are sounding arrogant or whatnot. But really, what are we saying to ourselves? Like, you are the only person who you are with everywhere you go all the time. And I really want you to love that person and like that person because they're always around. It's you, right? So because I'm my favorite person, I'm the person that I invest the most in, right? I invest in making sure I'm well mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, because if, again, think of the people who you consider your favorite people, you want to see them thrive and do well and be well in their lives. So it starts with me. And because of that, it then allows me to present and be well for the people, my other, favorite people, the people who fall after me, in my life, in my work, and really all humans, my neighbors and my community. As it relates to why I sit here in this chair and have spent over 2,226 days podcasting and sharing what I know to be true or what I'm learning, at the core of everything, the thing I want you to know about me is that I really want to see humans live well. I have this desire that won't let me stop, even when things get extremely hard and extremely frustrating or just seem extremely unjust or unfair. I always come back to this thing that's within me, this fire that will not be put out, of really wanting to see people live well. And I mean, like, really well, grounded, not look like they're doing well, but to actually be well, right? I want to see humans escape the distractions of this world that we live in and discover joy, discover health and well-being. And none of that takes away from acknowledging the challenges, the grief, the sadness, the hard things that are part of life. But for every time I mention, right, joy, and I met the responses, but that's not realistic or things of that nature, I understand that person who I'm speaking to doesn't have that, right? And if you don't have joy and haven't experienced joy, then it might seem odd to you to believe what I know to be true, is that you can have joy and grief at the same time. You can be going through sickness and still have joy. You can be experiencing excruciatingly hard things, but still have a well of joy that's there. Joy does not look like cartwheels and confetti cannons, right? That might be one expression of a form of it for someone in a certain situation, but it's not the only expression of joy, right? And so when I talk about that, and there's a great episode with Mattie James here on the podcast, if you just tap back or not Google, well, I guess you can Google, Mattie James Best Day podcast. I'll see if I can find it just from a quick Google while I'm talking to y'all. But we talk about that as well. We talk about this important in the ROI of joy. Let's see if I just do a quick episode 67, how to maximize your ROI on joy with Mattie James. We'll also link to that in the show notes as well. But that's a great episode that talks about joy, just as a side note. And if you were wondering, I'm so off my notes, but that's fine because I didn't type much. So I am committed to seeing people live well. And what I have determined, the way to do that is, the word that always comes back to me is intention. A life of intention is lived on purpose, and it's lived with purpose, as opposed to living by default and allowing a world that cares very little about your well-being, if at all, to decide what you do with your inhales and your exhales, while in this limited time that we have, the inhales and exhales, right? Because what happens is most people do fall into a default. I grew up in this part of town, or in this family, or this is what we do, or this is this is what life should look like from age, 25 to 65. You just work all the time, and you're overtired, you're overbusy, you're miserable. You take a few vacations, and then that's life. And that's actually the lie that's been sold, that I have come to see. And I want to help people to understand that right where you are, wherever you are. And really my hope is to catch people before they even buy into that story, to show you that there is an alternative, right? So one of the things that I'm really, really, really passionate about, I say I want to see all humans do well, but when I am creating products, when I am creating content, when I am thinking, it is usually thinking of women and girls. I would like to think part of that comes from the fact that I was raised the majority of my childhood by a single mom, and I watched my mom, my auntie, and my grandmother. And two of those are no longer with me, my auntie and my grandmother. I call my auntie, I have multiple aunts, right? But I call my one aunt, who I grew up seeing almost daily, auntie, right? I watched the relationship that the three of them had together. I watched how they supported one another. For a span of years after school, I would go to my auntie's house, and that's where my mom would pick us up. And it was just watching women be there for women, and the love. I think that's where that was a seed that was planted in my childhood that I can't get rid of and I can't shake. And I just want to see women and girls thrive. However, I don't say that to the exclusion of men. I have a son, and clearly I care deeply about him and the life that he lives, and I want to see him live well. But usually when I am creating, I am thinking about women, because they're just unique pressures and stories and things that we deal with that typically, not always, men don't have at such a high volume, right? When I was an attorney, so I started my career as a lawyer, clerked for a judge for 2 years, worked for a law firm for 5. I just could see the challenges that women faced that our male counterparts did not, in the same volume and weight. And so when I say that, I create from that space. And that is also, if you want to see me weep, just tell me any story of women who are finding joy in who they are and not who they think they have to be, how they have to mold themselves to look a certain way or think a certain way because an outside worldly force told them that's what they have to do, or have to be, or have to present as. I want to see all humans, but again, particularly women, really find the freedom and the peace and the joy that comes out of knowing who they are and loving who they are, and being willing to have enough self-love and self-awareness to do that dance of understanding that at any given moment, I am worthy of the space of figuring things out, of changing my mind, of evolving and changing. And I don't even know if I have all the words to articulate what I'm trying to say, but just understand that's another place that explains how I move, how I see things, how I think about things, what's on my mind, often. But again, not to say that I don't think about things with male. One, I'm not a male, so I can't, there's a limitation there, right? I also have experienced life as a woman, and I have as a girl. So, right. But I was saying all that to make the point that my hope is over time to do more things that reach girls, because I want these lessons that I'm teaching adult women every day, every week in my company and my work that I do. I want that to reach women earlier. Imagine the things that, if you're someone who's been in my world before and for long, learning a lot of the things that I teach, imagine having already grasped those things 2-3 decades before now, right? Game changer, life changer, right? So for me, I really, when I think about and what gets me excited about the future, for me and for the company, is to spread what we do to women at a younger age, younger girls, so basically to do what I do, but broaden that reach to younger ages. Does that make sense? Okay. Best Today, we exist to help women just like you be your best one today at a time. So each week on the podcast, we are going to highlight your stories and your voices. So let's see what's in the inbox today. This week, we have a 5-star review of our Best Today mugs from Caroline, who writes, "Be surrounded by encouragement. Sitting down with a hot drink in my one today at a time mug and Best Today guide first thing in the morning, bliss. Having this on my desk during the day really is encouraging and a reminder to live my best today. It is uplifting having this as a tangible reminder around me, especially during tough days. And during good days, it's a reminder to keep going on that path. And it is really pretty too. Thank you, Shunta and Best Today team." Thank you, Caroline, for your 5-star review, for taking the time to share that with us, but really the many people who search our website every day and want to hear the insights of customers just like you. If you have not purchased a Best Today mug, you can go to besttoday.co. It is there under the encouragement tab, and order one for you today. As you'll see, they sell out pretty quickly. So go today and get that mug so that you can be surrounded with that encouragement. And that's exactly why I created them. We also have stickers, great thing to stick on your phones. I keep one on the back of both of my phone cases. Great place to put on your Best Today guide, anything that you look at frequently, your water bottle, just those reminders to first the message within each thing, but also that reminder that you are not alone. You are a part of this Best Today family. So go and shop our encouragement products, which you can find at besttoday.co, and click under the encouragement tab. And thank you again, Caroline, for that 5-star review. Completely off notes, just forget the notes at this point. Another thing that I will say that explains why I do what I do when it comes to the corporate side, the work that I do with working with teams. And this is huge corporations. This is small businesses, universities, and everything in between, nonprofits, churches. It's because I know I like to go where the people are having the problem, right? I learned from having customers, being in dealing with Best Today, right? So before Best Today, which is about 3 years old now, a little over 3 years old, I worked with women in different capacities, whether for business, traveling, speaking, consulting. And what I know to be true is people would come back and say, okay, now applying these things that you've taught me, learning how, deal with my time, break things down, bring peace and structure at home, whatever that might be, it has given them a better footing in the workplace. There have been people who've said, I started using the Best Today guide and it wasn't but 3 months and I got my first promotion because I actually started getting a handle on my time and actually getting clear on what mattered. And when I think about that, I want to go to where people are. People in the masses are in the workplace. So it makes sense that I would then go to the workplace and help people really think about how to optimize their time, how to unite teams to do this. So the through line through all the things that I do, whether it's creating products, hosting conferences, which by the way, make sure you plan to attend the Best Today conference on December 8th and 9th of 2023. Go on and put that down on your calendar. Tickets go on sale in August. The conferences, the corporate work that I do, the products that I create, this podcast, writing on the blog, the through line of all of that is truly wanting to see people live well, live and work well. But working is a part of your life if you work, right? And so when I say live well, I do mean that to encompass all the different parts of who you are. That is what I want you to know about me, that I truly walked away from a career as an attorney and one that I thought would take me to be a judge or a law professor. And I shifted all of that, not knowing at the time, now when I first left, knowing that there was something bigger and better for me that was more suited for who I am naturally, the things that matter to me naturally, not the things that I was trained to do or learn and know, but like who I am, like who I was created to be. I get to use every fiber of that in doing things like talking to you right now and the products that I create. And that for me, when I get to stand on stages and speak to people or go into a small conference room and speak to a small number of people, all of that is a reflection of who I really am and what really matters to me. And while there are so many people who say, oh, you could take your career and do this, you could do this, you could do that. I want to do this. I want to help people live well and understand what that looks like. And that's why I started with time. I think I've shared that already on the podcast. It's because if I want to help you with your life, I got to help you with the thing our lives operate in, and that is time, right? And how I got here, and I am over my 12-minute mark, so I'm going to start bringing this home. But how I got here is intention found me when I was looking for it. I've shared the story so many times of I was already left the law firm and was dropping off my daughter to school one day, and someone had asked me, how am I doing? And I just was like, I'm just so busy. I'm so busy. And I got in the car and I really had an outer body experience. It was like I jumped out of my body and I was looking at myself saying, why is that always the answer? Why are you always saying you're so busy? Didn't you leave the firm so you could start creating a life and doing stuff you loved? And I was like, you know what? I literally sat there like almost frozen in my car. I can still see myself sitting exactly where I was. And I had to figure out how I got there. And that was the only way I could start to unravel it, right? I was just living. I was just doing. I had fallen into default. And by default, it wasn't that I wasn't doing great things for people I love and being present with my family, but I was just going, right? And it lacked intention. I didn't know that was the word for it. And there was no negative thing that I was doing or not doing per se. So that's a lot of times that I want when people hear what I have to say, they say, oh, well, I don't do that. Oh, well, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, or, oh, I don't, right? And it's like, it's not like if you do 1, 2, or 3, it's like really just pause and look at the way you're living your life. Is busy the word you're always spewing out to describe what you're doing? And why is that? Let's pause. And that's what I did. I really paused and I kind of worked backwards to figure out what it was I wanted out of this life. And I was loving the work that I was doing, right? So much that I didn't mind doing it all the time, evening, night, in the car, and I realized that for me, that's not what I wanted. Is kind of just how I just jumped on and rode the wave of, again, that default living. And I wanted to pause and reflect on that. And that was so long ago. Oh my goodness. And what I learned in that process of really trying to uncover what had got me to that place of always being busy has become the foundation of the talks that I give, of the products I've created, of the company that I created, right? When I learn and gain experience and understanding with time, I share. I create things that help people implement the things that I teach. And that's why I'm here. And I just want you to know that, right? And I show up here on this podcast because it's a low barrier to entry, right? So anyone, anywhere can turn on any platform and listen to an episode of this podcast at any time at zero cost to you. If you've got Wi-Fi or a data plan, right, you can listen to me every Monday. You can listen to me every day, actually, because there's so many episodes, right? And you're going to get something each and every time that's real, that's effective, and that is based in truth. And that is something that I value, that you can trust, right? There's integrity here. Integrity, not only in the truth, but also the stability, right? You think about it. You don't want to drive over a bridge that lacks integrity. You might just fall, right? Your car might crash. And so for me, I value being a place that is compassionate, thoughtful, safe, trustworthy for the thousands of humans who listen and download this podcast every week. And so I just say thank you. And I wanted you to understand that I am very much so connected to this work that I do. And it's not just something that I thought one day, oh, let me just start this thing. No, it has all happened really organically, but I can see the through line in all of it. And it comes down to my desire to want to see you. Yes, you person listening right now, to see you live really, really well and feel it in your body, in your inhales and your exhales, and in your life, in your being. Because I think that's something that we all can attain. We just have to understand how we got to where we are that got us away from that. And even acknowledge what that is, distractions, being just so really distracted. Distracted is the best word I can, by so many things in this world and in this life that can completely cause you to overlook the person in the mirror and the uniqueness that is in you, and all of the things that are within you that are beautiful and powerful, and all of the possibility, just everything. So thank you for listening. I hope that you learned something, even if you've been around with me for years. Let me know if you did learn something that you didn't know about me. It's a joy to sit here and do this every week. So just thank you for listening to this week's episode, for being present with me. And until next time, please remember that you are capable and worthy of every good thing that comes your way. And you're capable and worthy of being your best, one today at a time. And you have everything you need to have everything you want. And so go on and shout it out as you live it out, as I end every podcast. Just reminding yourself that you can wake up and say that this is what my best today looks like. I'm not going to wait until the finish line to celebrate the journey, because that is the only one who celebrates that. I mean, the only one who wins, right? When we hold our breath until the end, we don't benefit from that. I want you to learn to celebrate now, right where you are. Even if you're like, I am a mess. Okay, guess what? You know how hard that is to admit. And then what are you going to do about it? One step at a time, and loving you where you are, because we all got something that we're working on. And if all we are doing is working on, when are we actually getting to celebrate and just be? Because you're worthy of that in a world that says, where's the next self-help book? What you working on next? What's after that? What's after that? What are you going to do after this? Yeah, I completely have already ended this podcast and started another. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. You can find all of the links referenced in this week's episodes in the show notes, linked below right here where you're listening. And I will talk to you on the next episode. Thanks so much for spending time with me and learning a little bit more about me, the woman behind the microphone. Bye for now.
If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Best Today podcast, you are going to love the Best Today Guide. Our Better Than a Planner guide teaches you how to get clear on what you want, identify your self-destructive habits and behaviors, and intentionally create space to prioritize yourself every single day. Don't go the journey to being your best one today at a time without the Best Today Guide. See inside its pages and order yours today at besttodayguide.com. Even better, when you order the Best Today Guide, we gift you with your first month free inside of the Best Today membership. So what are you waiting for? We're giving you everything you need to trade busy for intention. Go to besttodayguide.com and order yours today, and join thousands of women across the globe proclaiming each day, this is what my best today looks like.